Atomic Habits by James Clear. Changes that seem small and unimportant at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. Here's how the math works out. If you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you'll decline nearly down to 0. What starts as a small win or a minor setback accumulates into something much more. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. That said, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful you are right now. What matters is whether your habits are putting you on the path towards success. You should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. You get what you repeat. If you want to predict where you'll end up in life, all you have to do is follow the curve of tiny gains or tiny losses and see how your daily choices will compound 10 or 20 years down the line. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. Breakthrough moments are often the result of many previous actions which build up the potential required to unleash a major change. This is one of the core reasons why it is so hard to build habits that last. People make a small few changes, fail to see a tangible result, and decide to stop. But in order to make a meaningful difference, habits need to persist long enough to break through this plateau, what I call the plateau of latent potential. When you finally break through the plateau of latent potential, people will call it an overnight success. Change can take years before it all happens at once. All big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single, tiny decision. The task of breaking a bad habit is like uprooting a powerful oak within us. And the task of building a good habit is like cultivating a delicate flower one day at a time. Prevailing wisdom claims that the best way to achieve what you want in life is to set specific, actionable goals. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. Achieving a goal only changes your life for the moment. What we really need to change are the systems that cause those results. Fix the inputs and the outputs will fix themselves. When you fall in love with the process rather than the product, you don't have to wait to give yourself permission to be happy. You can be satisfied anytime your system is running. True long-term thinking is goal-less thinking. It's not about any single accomplishment. It is about the cycle of endless refinement and continuous improvement. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. If you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed. You need to be patient. Changing our habits is challenging for 2 reasons. 1, we try to change the wrong thing. And 2, we try to change our habits in the wrong way. Consider that there are 3 levels at which change can occur. The first layer is changing your outcomes. Most of the goals you set are associated with this level of change. The second layer is changing your process. Most of the habits you build are associated with this level. The third and deepest layer is changing your identity. Most of the beliefs, assumptions, and biases you hold are associated with this level. Many people begin the process of changing their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. The alternative is to build identity-based habits. With this approach, we start by focusing on who we wish to become. Behind every system of actions are a system of beliefs. Behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. True behavior change is identity change. You might start a habit because of motivation, but the only reason you'll stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. The biggest barrier to positive change at any level, individual, team, society, is identity conflict. Progress requires unlearning. Becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to upgrade and expand your identity. Your identity is literally your repeated beingness. The more evidence you have for a belief, the more strongly you will believe it. I didn't start out as a writer. I became one through my habits. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. The most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do. Each habit not only gets results, but also teaches you something far more important: to trust yourself. You start to believe you can actually accomplish these things. It is a simple two-step process. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. For example, who is the type of person who could write a book? It's probably someone who is consistent and reliable. Now your focus shifts from writing a book, outcome-based, to being the type of person who is consistent and reliable, identity-based. You have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is not set in stone. You have a choice in every moment. Ultimately, your habits matter because they help you become the type of person you wish to be. A habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. Habits are mental shortcuts learned from experience. The process of building a habit can be divided into 4 simple steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior. It is a bit of information that predicts a reward. Cravings are the second step, and they are the motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, we have no reason to act. What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in state it delivers. The response is the actual habit you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. Whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. In summary, the cue triggers a craving, which motivates a response, which provides a reward, which satisfies the craving and ultimately becomes associated with the cue. I refer to this framework as the 4 laws of behavior change, and it provides a simple set of rules for creating good habits and breaking bad ones. Whenever you want to change your behavior, you can simply ask yourself, how can I make it obvious? How can I make it attractive? How can I make it easy? How can I make it satisfying? The key to creating good habits and breaking bad ones is to understand these fundamental laws and how to alter them to your specifications. Every goal is doomed to fail if it goes against the grain of human nature. The 4 laws of behavior change are a simple set of rules we can use to build better habits. They are 1. Make it obvious. 2. Make it attractive. 3. Make it easy. And 4. Make it satisfying. This is one of the most surprising insights about our habits. You don't need to be aware of the cue for a habit to begin. You can notice an opportunity and take action without dedicating conscious attention to it. This is what makes habits useful. It's also what makes them dangerous. Before we can effectively build new habits, we need to get a handle on our current ones. The Habit Scorecard, which is a simple exercise you can use to become more aware of your behavior. To create your own, make a list of your daily habits. Once you have a full list, look at each behavior and ask yourself, is this a good habit, a bad habit, or a neutral habit? If it is a good habit, write a plus next to it. If it is a bad habit, write a minus. If it is a neutral habit, write an equal sign. There are no good habits or bad habits. There are only effective habits. That is, effective at solving problems. For this exercise, categorize your habits by how they will benefit you in the long run. The first step to changing bad habits is to be on the lookout for them. The process of behavior change always starts with awareness. The cues that can trigger a habit come in a wide range of forms, but the two most common cues are time and location. The punchline is clear. People who make a specific plan for when and where they will perform a new habit are more likely to follow through. Once an implementation intention has been set, you don't have to wait for inspiration to strike. When the moment of action occurs, there is no need to make a decision. Simply follow your predetermined plan. The simple way to apply this strategy to your habits is to fill out this sentence. I will behavior at time in location. Being specific about what you want and how you will achieve it helps you say no to things that derail progress, distract your attention, and pull you off course. Give your habits a time and a space to live in this world. The goal is to make the time and location so obvious that with enough repetition, you get an urge to do the right thing at the right time, even if you can't say why. You often decide what to do next based on what you have just finished doing. Each action becomes a cue that triggers the next behavior. Why is this important? When it comes to building new habits, you can use the connectedness of behavior to your advantage. One of the best ways to build a new habit is to identify a current habit you already do each day and then stack your new behavior on top. This is called habit stacking. Rather than pairing your new habit with a particular time and location, you pair it with a current habit. The habit stacking formula is, after current habit, I will new habit. The key is to tie your desired behavior into something you already do each day. The specificity is important. The more tightly bound your new habit is to a specific cue, the better the odds are that you will notice when the time comes to act. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. The most powerful of all human sensory abilities, however, is vision. Given that we are more dependent on vision than on any other sense, it should come as no surprise that visual cues are the greatest catalyst of our behavior. For this reason, a small change in what you can see can lead to a big shift in what you do. If you want to make a habit a big part of your life, make the cue a big part of your environment. The more persistent behaviors usually have multiple cues. Environment design allows you to take back control and become the architect of your life. Be the designer of your world and not merely the consumer of it. Our behavior is not defined by the objects in the environment, but by our relationship to them. Stop thinking about your environment as filled with objects. Start thinking about it as filled with relationships. Think in terms of how you interact with the spaces around you. The power of context also reveals an important strategy. Habits can be easier to change in a new environment. When you can't manage to get to an entirely new environment, redefine or rearrange your current one. Create a separate space for work, study, exercise, entertainment, and cooking. The mantra I find useful is one space, one use. Whenever possible, avoid mixing the context of one habit with another. When you start mixing contexts, you'll start mixing habits, and the easier ones will usually win out. Every habit should have a home. If you can manage to stick with this strategy, each context will become associated with a particular habit and mode of thought.